Hi folks, welcome back. I'm sure you've heard people say that prolonged periods of sitting and inactivity can be just as dangerous to your heart as smoking. Now, whether you agree with this assertion or not, it's an undeniable fact that in today's world, many of us spend most of our day sitting, at work, during our commute, and even in our leisure time. Now, this sedentary lifestyle poses a serious threat to our heart health or our cardiovascular health. Now, to prove my point, let me share the results of this research published in the Journal of the American Medical Association to help you better understand exactly what I am talking about. So, researchers analyzed data from 9 studies to examine the relationship between a sedentary time and cardiovascular disease risk, or in other words, your risk for developing heart disease down the line. The research involved over 720,000 participants. 57.1% of them were women and 42.9% were men. The average age was about 54.5 years, and they were followed for about a median time of 11 years. And during those 11 years, there were over 25,000 cardiovascular events. Now, here are some of the interesting findings. Participants who spent the most time sedentary, which is a median of about 12 and a half hours per day, which, if you think about it, is not uncommon, especially for people who are office workers, they had a 14.1% higher risk of cardiovascular disease compared to those who were least sedentary, which was about 2.5 hours of sitting per day. Interestingly, people with moderate sedentary time, which they put around 7.5 hours a day, did not show any significant increase in cardiovascular risk. I mean, their risk increased by just about 2%, indicating nothing substantial. So this tells me that, some sitting is okay. It's not like we can never sit. If 7.5 hours, put them just about 2% higher than normal. So that's not too bad. Now, the critical spot was around 10 hours per day. Those sitting more than 10 hours per day had a clear increase in risk of about 8%. So the critical question is, what makes sitting for prolonged periods so dangerous? Well, there are several multifaceted factors, and today I'm going to share at least 2 key ones and some practical tips on how to mitigate them and reduce your risks. The first reason is reduced blood flow. Now, when you sit for prolonged periods, your blood circulation decreases significantly. This is because the muscles in your legs, particularly the large muscles in the calves, remain inactive. Now, these muscles are crucial in pumping blood back to the heart against gravity and are sometimes referred to as your second heart. The inactivity of these calf muscles can decrease blood flow, causing blood to pool in your legs, causing blood pressure to rise and blood flow to slow down. This reduction in blood flow can also lead to a buildup of fatty acids in the blood vessels. Slower blood flow allows more time for fatty substances like cholesterol to deposit on the artery walls, forming plaque and narrowing the vessels, a process I'm sure you've already heard this name before, atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis is a key factor in the development of coronary artery disease. And even to make matters worse, when you sit, your metabolic demand decreases, meaning your body requires less energy to function. This reduction in energy demand combined with reduced blood flow is likely to contribute to increased blood pressure. Now, this happens because when tissues require less oxygen and nutrients due to lowered activity, blood vessels tend to constrict, leading to increased resistance to blood flow and consequently a higher blood pressure. Because if the blood vessels constrict, obviously the blood will have to flow through it at an elevated pressure. Now, the second reason is changes in metabolic health. Prolonged sitting, interestingly, can also significantly affect your metabolic health, increasing the risk of developing insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and dyslipidemia, or what we normally call abnormal lipid levels. Now, as I explained in the previous point, the muscles in the legs and glutes remain inactive during prolonged sitting. This inactivity decreases production of an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, so we call it LPL. So I'm sure you're asking, why is this important? Well, lipoprotein lipase is responsible for the breakdown of triglycerides and facilitating the uptake of fatty acids into the muscles. When LPL levels are reduced, triglycerides can accumulate in the bloodstream, leading to an increased risk of dyslipidemia or abnormal lipid levels and cardiovascular disease. In addition to the effects of insulin sensitivity and triglyceride levels, prolonged sitting also has been linked to decreased levels of HDL, what we typically call the good cholesterol. Now, HDL is crucial in removing excess cholesterol from the bloodstream and transporting it to the liver for disposal. So low levels of HDL have been associated with an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. So what can we do to counter these negative effects? Well, the key is to prioritize movement and physical activity throughout the day. One simple strategy is to take regular breaks from sitting. Set a timer to remind yourself to stand up, stretch, or take a quick walk around the office, every 1 to 2 hours, depending on the nature of your work, of course, and the environment. These short bursts of movement can help get your blood flowing and keep your muscles active. One effective way to reduce sitting time is to use standing desk or active workstations such as a treadmill desk or a cycling desk. Under-desk treadmills are popular these days, and that is what I personally use. And I'll put a link to what I have in the description if you're interested in checking it out. This video is not sponsored by anybody. It's just that is what I have, and I haven't had any reason to complain so far. So if you want to check it out, there will be a link in the description. Of course, in addition to these small changes, engaging in regular structured exercise sessions outside of work hours is also important. We are recommended to aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity per week, like brisk walking, cycling, or swimming, whatever your preference is. This dedicated exercise time will give your cardiovascular system the workout it needs to stay strong and healthy. Now, remember, our bodies were designed to move, not to sit for hours on end. I encourage you to make a conscious effort to reduce your sedentary time and prioritize physical activity. By doing so, you can significantly improve your cardiovascular health. I truly hope you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share with anybody, and as always, stay blessed, and I'll catch you in the next video.